Hi y'all, it's Charlene from the Crafty Art Shack, and we're back here today with another video. And so let's get to the craft desk and get started. Now here we go with DIY number 1. Now we are creating one of our village pieces that we are going to be doing monthly. Now what I showed you here is I went and got this stick from outside, had this big hole that went down inside of it. I didn't know how far it went down. But I already put this in the oven and baked it at 175 for about 30-45 minutes. And then you're going to take, and this little hole, I'm filling it with glue. So if there's any stuff in there that could possibly be living, ain't going to sneak out on me in this episode, because I done glued him in there. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking to see how far down, or if I've got my stick cut short enough or whatever. But please make sure you put these in the oven and bake them. Now I'm going to temporarily glue that there, and then I am going to nail it on with the staple gun. And I'm going to put 2 staples in there to secure it. That way if the hot glue and the wood glue doesn't hold, it will hold with these little brad nails. After I get that brad nailed on, I am fitting this piece right here that I have that came off of another project that I picked up at the thrift store, and I used the other parts for something else. And I'm going to use the side with the holes in it this time. Now I'm taking out the little bird, whatever you call that thing, perch, and I'm taking off that, and I'm going to stuff that hanger down inside of the little birdhouse. I get that all stuffed in there. I'm going to add some hot glue because I want to fill in this little gap that's here, and I'm going to end up taking that little peg that I took off of the perch and sticking it down in there and gluing it in place. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these blinds that my husband brought home to me, and I am going to cut them in little sections, and I'm going to end up making it shaped like a triangle so that when it gets up to the peak it's smaller. And I'm going to glue these all the way around on the roof and put them on. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Then the next thing I'm going to do before I glue that down is I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to take me some of these little twigs that you can get them from outside, or you can either order them online. I think Amazon sells these. So I'm going to see how long it needs to be, and I'm going to cut those down to size, enough of them to go all the way around the little house. Now what you see me doing is taking a measuring tape, seeing how many inches I'm going to need, and then I'm going to tape my measuring tape down to the desk, and I'm just going to line up until I get 7.5 inches of them, and then that'll be enough, and I'll get those ready to go. So after I get it laid out at 7.5 inches, then I finished marking off where the ones that need to be cut off, and I got them cut off and ready to go. Now save all those little pieces that you had, because you're going to use those for the little ladder and for the porch railing. Then I applied wood glue to my little piece. Now I didn't worry about putting hot glue on there because these were so snug that they fit in place, and then I wrapped some tape around it to hold it in place until that wood glue got dry. And then we're going to start on the roof. Now I'm going to go around and I am going to hot glue all my pieces onto the roof, overlapping each one of the pieces until I get back around to the beginning. Now there's a gap between that roof and the house part itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some jute cord that came from Crafter Square. Is the larger one, not the one that comes out of the automotive department. And I'm going to wrap this all the way around and tacking it down with wood glue, and then until I get all the way up there to the edge of the roof. And then I'm going to do the same for the bottom. I think adding that jute just gives it a finished look. Now I'm going to go up here to the top around where, with the smaller twine that comes from the automotive section, and start gluing it around, starting at the roof line and going up. Then the next thing I did is I took me one of those bamboo skewers that are used for stirring coffee, and I am going to make me a little door just by laying 4 pieces out. Now, if you need to know what size to make your door, go get your little people out and hold it up to the door and make sure it's tall enough for them to get through. Then after I get done with that, I'm going to flip the door over and add 2 of these little pieces of that blinds. Now you could use anything you want for that. I just happen to have this out and thought it would be perfect to use for this. And then I'm going to take that thinner jute cord and I'm going to run it around the top of my door and the bottom of my door just to give it some character. Then I'm going to take me another one of those little skewers and I'm going to cut me a piece that is about, I would say it's about an inch long, maybe not that long. Anyway, what I'm doing is I'm making some little windows and then I'm going to cut the skewer in half so that I have enough to make my little windows. You're going to need to cut 3 little pieces, I believe it is, and then we'll make the windows from that. So you start out by making a little square and then you put a little cross in the center of it. Going to glue it on that paper, but I decided I would take and put a piece of plastic down. This is a piece of plastic off of something that I just took stuff out of. Now I was going to be cute and use super glue again, but you guys know my history with super glue. I end up gluing me and everything else to it but me. And watch, there. I even glued my tweezers to my hand. You guys, if you ever get this on you, use acetone fingernail polish remover or straight up acetone, and it will help you to get all that super glue off. So I'm going to get these in place where they need to be, and look, it's still stuck to me. And I'm like, oh man, I got it on my tools. I got to figure out how to get that off. And then once you get these completely made, now you got to put the little cross in there. Because I decided that when I put it up to my little house, that didn't look good enough. I needed to have that. So I cut 2 more little skewer pieces. I cut it in half while it was still long, which made it easier to work with. Actually, I think I cut it in thirds. I did. And then I cut 2 more little pieces out. So you're going to need, I think it's 6 pieces altogether. The reason why I chose super glue is because super glue holds that bamboo better, and that's why I use that. And then once you're done with that, then glue it in place, and you can either glue it in place with hot glue or super glue. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm trying to figure out something. But that could be dangerous with me. Now the next thing that I did is I not super glued. I got me another piece of that blind, and I'm going to cut a little arch into it. And I kind of laid it up there by my house and kind of drew a line that I thought it would be. And then I'm going to trim that off, and I am going to glue that above my door to make like was it an overhang? That's what it's called. I do get out my little fingernail file. It works great on these blinds for cleaning up any rough edges. And I'm going to trim up the corners to where it's kind of rounded also. And I'm going to glue it above the door. Just like that. Now I put that other one up there and I figured it was too short. So I went and got me another little piece of the blind. And I'm going to trim it up and put it up there above the door. And I'm just making sure it's fitting right now because I wanted it to be a little bit bigger overhang. Now the next thing I'm doing is I'm going to focus on this little piece. Now we're going to make a railing for our little a railing and a porch for our little house here. That's going to be, it's going to be like a tree house is what we're making. That's why we went outside and got the tree, if y'all didn't know. But I'm pretty sure y'all pretty smart. Y'all figured that out. I didn't need to tell you. But you know me, I'm going to give you more information. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some of those shorter ones little wooden pegs that I had left over from my twigs, and I'm going to glue them in each one of these holes, and that is going to create our little porch. Now that little indent was already in this piece of wood when I took it apart from one of the other projects, and that just fits around that tree trunk just perfect. And you see me still trying to get all that super glue off of me. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the little railing tops, and I'm going to pick out some pretty straight sticks versus the ones that have a curve to it, and I'm going to hot glue them down, trim them up, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to each one of these little posts where they're at, and I'm going to take a little piece of jute, and I'm going to go around and back up and back down till it makes like a crisscross X across each one of these. And I'll do it for each one. It's just an extra added character and support. Then after we get that done, we're going to add some hot glue to the bottom of our little house, and we are going to stick it back there in the corner because we want to leave room where that little entrance is, and it's okay if the house backs up to that. Now what I did is I took me one of these little wood rounds that I got from the Dollar Tree, I cut it in half and made me a little porch off of it. This is the reason why I wanted the overhang, and then you'll see me I'll glue that in place and clean up any glue that came running out. And then I'm going to take and add the little supports for the porch. Or no, I'm not. I'm going to add another rail on there because I didn't think I had enough railing to go across. So I'm going to add one more rail and do the same thing that I did with the others. And then we'll go from there. Now, I guess before I decided to glue in that railing, I decided to go ahead and put those porch supports in, and that's what I'm doing here. You put one on each side, and you can glue it to the little stoop that I made and to the top of the little overhang of the porch. And then I'll glue that rail on the front, and we'll go from there. Once we get the little porch rail on, I decided we needed some embellishment for the top. I was going to put a little flag up there, but I decided to add this little green bead and this little flowery bead that you see sitting there. I'm going to add this on first, and then I'm going to add the other one on top of that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get me some of that little wispy grass that I got from a Dollar Tree floral, and I'm going to glue it down, and then I'm going to glue some of these little rocks there, and I'm going to just continue to add some little embellishments on the front. You'll see the rest of these when we show the final reveal, or as I'm putting this part on the tree limb. Now, the next thing I did is I added two little sticks up there by the little rock that I put in and the little flowers that I put in. And now what you see me here making is a little wood pile, and then we're going to sit that right there by the door, and then it's time to add it to our little tree limb. Now what I'm doing here, and it's really hard to see, I tried to widen the camera as much as possible. I'm trying to get it to wrap around that tree limb, and so once I get it where I want it located at, I am just going to take and add a brad nail through there into that wood. So be really careful about that. And if you notice on the side, I took one of those little sponge brush style rods that come off the brushes after I'm done with them, and I added that into that little hole that was there because it just made a perfect spot to give a support. And so we're going to add a piece of that in there and support that on that side, just like we did the other side. Then once I got that on there, now I measured from where that tree limb comes up to the side of the little house up there down to the platform at the bottom, and what we're making is a little ladder. Now I placed each one of these an inch apart because that's the size it needed to be for our little people. So get you some tape and tape this down, and then start gluing each one of these little pieces on with your jute rope. Now once I get this glued on there, Now I found it was easier if I take and put a piece of jute, or not jute, a piece of painter's tape over those little sticks that are there, so that I could just go through and dab a little glue. It kind of gives you some extra hands, and then I'm going to run my jute cord down. Now after I go and do that, I'm going to do just like I did the little handrail up top. I'm going to go through with a piece of string and tie each one of these little ladder pieces on here, trim it up, and drop a dab of super glue on each one of these, just to make sure that that little knot doesn't come undone, because I'm not double knotting it, I'm just tying a knot. Then the next thing I did is I took the end that had the longest tails, and I tied a knot in it and looped it over that tree limb. Then I stretched it down to the front of my little platform at the bottom, and I'm going to glue that in, and then I'm going to add some super glue there, as well as add glue to the top. The next thing I did is I wrote on a piece of bamboo skewer. I wrote the art shack on there. Instead of writing the crafty art shack, I just wrote the art shack. And it's just a place where I imagine that people come to visit and they see all the artwork that's hanging on the inside of the little house. That's where my imagination goes. And I'm going to take and glue this down. Then I'm going to add a piece of jute across that and tie it on and put some super glue on it too. So the next thing I did is I took some of these leaves off of some of my florals and I cut them down in half, and then what I'm going to do is round the edges of some of them and make them look more like leaves, and I'm going to glue them to the tree. And the reason why I did this is because, like, in the fall they still have some of their leaves, but they don't have all of their leaves, and in the spring when they're getting their leaves they don't have all their leaves. So that's what I was imagining was happening here. I figure you need to see me gluing all those in. Now what this is that's some of that Elmer's spray glue from the Dollar Tree. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but I'm going to take that, put it down, and then I'm going to put some reindeer moss on it, and then I'm going to spray it again. Now, I know y'all are probably going, Charlene, what are we going to do with green grass in the middle of a Christmas village? Don't worry, it's going to get covered up. You won't see it. We'll be able to put this village piece up in the early fall or late summer for us, and it'll change with the seasons. Trust me, it will. We're going to see the rest of this and the rest of the embellishments I added at the final reveal. Now today's video is a what would you make challenge, and it's an open invite, so if you're interested, contact one of these ladies and they'll be more than glad to get you added to the chat and get you started. And or you can contact me. Now the host today is OK at Home DIY, and the other host is Connie's Creative Creations, and the special guest host for this month is Marika Creations. Y'all go check out these ladies. They're doing some awesome crafts. There's also a playlist listed in the description box below. Go check them out, because you aren't going to want to miss these, because they're doing some awesome crafts over there. So go check them out. And that'll be in my description box, the ladies' links and the link to the playlist where you can watch everyone else. Go check them out. You don't want to miss it. Now this is DIY number 2. Now this DIY was actually done in the Unbewreathable Challenge, and it was hosted by C at CJ DIY, Jackie over at Crafting and Mimi's World, and Christine, the DIY Craftaholic. Now our video had issues with the uploading onto the computer, and so that created a big problem for us, but being the creative crafter that we are, we came up with a creative funny for you. So you're going to want to go back and check that one out, because it was just too cute. and I thought it was funny. But you'll have to be the judge of it for yourself if you haven't already seen it. So in that video, I was asked to go back over how we created this wreath. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you everything in detail, but I am going to be able to talk about it while you look at it. I like to make a wreath where I can take the flowers off and I can take the ribbons and stuff off easily. So what I did is I took 2 packs of that jute rope that's really wide that you get from the Dollar Tree, and I wrapped it all the way around as far as it would go on the wreath form, and that's just a Dollar Tree wreath form. Then the next thing I did is I took this black and yellow ribbon, and I just started at one end and tacked it there with hot glue and go all the way around. Now I will tell you, I do my stuff in hot glue because I'm taking it back apart to reuse it for something else. But you need to put something on there more to secure it better than that, so that during the heat and the cold it doesn't fall apart on you. Then the next thing I did is I just took the flowers and slid them inside each one of these little pockets that when you wrap around the wreath, that's all I did is I took the pieces and slid them in there. And I always start out with a really long piece when I'm doing a partial floral I don't know what you call it, but I just start with the longer stems first at the lowest part, and I work my way up to the shortest and then go from there. Does that make sense? Then the next thing we did is we added these little bees that we made in the video, and then here you'll see some of the little bees. I found a pack of them at Hobby Lobby, one at the Dollar Tree. Like I said, our Dollar Trees aren't that great, so you can't find them all the time. Now, this is one of the little bees that we made, but I changed up the wings. Instead of putting wire wings on, I made wings out of little badminton birdies. I guess that's what they're called. Okay, here we want to give our subscribers a special thanks. We love you bunches, and we appreciate you subscribing to our channel. Here we go with the final reveal. All right, y'all, we're back from the craft desk, and didn't this just turn out absolutely adorable? And it'll look good with all of our spring stuff sitting out, and it has, we've checked the height of our little peoples to make sure the door's the right size, to make sure the ladder rung's right, and everything. And you guys, this is just going to be too cute sitting over here waiting for that Christmas village at the end of the year. You guys, if you like this content, subscribe. And it really helps our channel out when you subscribe, watch, and share our videos. It lets YouTube know that we are putting out good content and that others should be watching us, and then they'll go and promote our videos more. So this is one way you can help us out, and it's free. And if you guys, will see you in the next episode. We'll see you later. Bye.
This content, subscribe. Yeah, that's what I want you to do, is subscribe and watch it. And you guys, I hope you stay tuned for that. Yeah, I hope you do. Yeah, hope I'm not that boring. And if you like this content, subscribe. Yeah, I said that already. Subscribe. I messed up. Alright, y'all, we're back from the craft desk. The little chicken, and I'm why did I do that? Alright, y'all, give us that big thumbs up and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and we'll see you in the next episode. See you later. Bye!